Welcome back to the City of Miramar's Bizfit program. We're entering our evening segments. At this hour, we will be talking about reopening your business. We have Felicia Martin with us for this segment. Specifically, it's reopening your business post-coronavirus, virtual versus bricks and mortar. If you were with us a little while ago, I did mention at the end of the previous segment that this is going to be a timely subject because during the past year, a lot of the news on businesses have been, looking forward, and been articles written about pros and cons of being virtual, trends, whether bricks and mortar are going, the way of the dinosaur, so to speak, in some respects, versus the growth in online retailing and services. So this is, I think, going to be a very good subject to cover tonight. A little bit about Felicia. She's the Chief Learning Officer of the Training House, has been a corporate trainer for over 15 years. She has led hundreds of courses on subjects ranging from customer service to leadership and management, covering several industries like aviation, banking, and pro sports. She holds a bachelor's degree from Florida State University and a mastering instructional design professional certification from Nova Southeastern. One of the things she impresses upon her clients is to never forget the power of good service. As owner of the Training House, her focus is helping businesses do business better. Welcome, Felicia. Yeah, we are working on a technical glitch, so just bear with us for a minute. So while we wait.
Oh, there we go. I'm sorry, I found the mute. Can you guys hear me?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's on me now?
It's to you, Felicia.
All right, thank you so much for that, Richard. I apologize for the technical difficulties. Thank you very much for having me on City of Miramar. As Richard said, my name is Felicia Martin, and I am the Chief Learning Officer for the Training House. Just a little background about that. The Training House is a professional training company that, in short, we help business do business better. Just a little bit about me and my background. I am of Trinidadian and Costa Rican descent, though I grew up not too far from Miramar in formerly known as Carroll City, now known as Miami Gardens. I went to Florida State University for my undergrad, and I completed my professional certification in instructional design at Nova Southeastern University. I have been in the corporate training field for 15 plus years now across different industries, including food and beverage, banking, aviation, higher education, and most recently with the Miami Heat. So I tell you all of this to say, if anyone knows service, hospitality, working different generations and inspiring people to deliver good service, it would be me. So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming. Next slide, please. So I'm sure you're looking at this like, yes, right? So this is about reopening your business, right? And one of the things that I want people to think about when reopening their business, whether it's virtual or brick and mortar, is the importance of service. Are you ready? So when you think about, are you ready to open up your business? Are you really ready from a service perspective? And how does being intentional about service help you be ready and affect your bottom line? So we're going to have a different elevated conversation, you will, about delivering service this evening. And I hope it resonates with everyone there. So if you look on the screen right now, there's a meme up. And I'm sure you guys are laughing and I just can't hear you or see you. But it's basically, if you would like good customer service, be a good customer. Now, I know we wish that there was a class called How to Be a Customer, right? We wish there was someone in the parking lot that kind of stopped them before they got out the car. Okay, this is how you order. This is how you hold your face while you wait. This is how you ask for other things. This is how you make a complaint. Like, we wish there was a training the city of Miramar put out for the customers, right? But there's not. There's just us. And frankly, the responsibility of customer service is on the service provider, which is you guys, right? The small businesses. So the first question I want to ask you is, how have you thought about service? When you're thinking about reopening your doors, relaunching your website, whatever it may be, what have you intentionally put in place regarding service? And if you have not made service a part of your plan, let me help you decide, if you will, to make it a part of your plan. Next slide, please. So you can't control the customer. One thing you can control is their experience. So that slide is itty bitty, and I can't read all the numbers, but pretty much, 76%, if I'm not mistaken, percent of customers do not return if there's bad service. There's another number on there about 6 to 7 times. It's 6 to 7 times more expensive to try to attract a new customer than to keep the ones that you have and get them to return over and over. I know what that 44% is. 44% of customers, mainly minority customers, use social media more so than others, whether it be to research, find, contact, or to complain or talk about their experience. So we have 78% of customers that will not return to an establishment after one time of having a bad customer service experience. We have 44% of folks that use the internet more than any other medium to talk about their experience. It's 6 to 7 times more expensive to recruit a new customer than retain one who's already come. This is an interesting one that I found on the New York Times. 78% of Generation X Black men believe that they are special or important. And that's not an arrogant space. What I'm trying to tell you is, I just want you to know the mentality of the customer that's walking into your space, whatever it may be. Whether it's been the social justice movement, whether it's been the diversity and inclusion movements, there is an air about the Generation X men. So if you have that type of air, then you have a different expectation when you're encountering a business. So I thought that was a pretty interesting number there. That $54 million, God bless you, whoever did that for me, that $54 million, that is over 75% of the 80-something billion dollar hair and beauty industry. Minority, mainly Black women, contribute $54 million to the hair and beauty industry. We contribute over 75% of the total profit of that industry. And I can imagine some of the service encounters you have going into that industry. And last but not least, a very important number, the top 3 complaints from consumers when it comes to small business is communication, entitlement, a sense of entitlement, meaning the business thinks that we should be here because we also look like them. So there's a sense of entitlement. And then just an overall attitude, right? So those numbers there, when you think about the discretion people have with their dollars, those numbers should really inspire you to be intentional about developing a service plan. And that's what the Training House helps small businesses do, establish those service standards. So let's look a little deeper into exactly what customer service is, because I bet you we've never defined it like this. Next slide, please. So customer service, in a nutshell, is the support you offer your customers both before and after the buy. After they buy and use your products or services, that helps them have an easy and enjoyable experience with you. Customer support is more than just providing answers. It's an important part of the promise your brand makes to its customers. So that's a mouthful, right? We're going to look at 3 important parts of this phrase. We're going to look at as an easy and enjoyable as your brand makes to its customers. So next slide, please. So support you offer your customers. I'm sure everyone has seen this meme on social media, mind the business that pays you, right? I promise you there's no hidden shade being thrown here. But I want you to look at that phrase literally. Mind is a verb, right? Mind the business that pays you. So when you think about how you support your customers, please know that service does not start at the time you say hello, whether you say that in a friendly voice. Service doesn't start the first time they encounter your cashier. Service starts from the time your customer knows you have something to sell. Whether they have seen a website, whether they have come across your packaging on a product, whether they have listened to someone talk about your product, seen a video, what have you, service starts from the time the customer knows that you have something to sell. So let's talk about before they buy your product. And I have a bullet there. Check all your tech spaces. And when I say your tech spaces, I mean all of them, not just your IG. What happens if I search your restaurant, your store, your product on Google? What comes up? Does that link work? Is the information correct? Is the phone number correct? Is the website correct? Are your hours of operation correct? Check your Yelp. Do you have that connected? Check all of your tech spaces, your Facebook pages, all of that to make sure everything is up to date and all the information that your guest needs to know is put out there so they don't have to do a whole bunch of searching and finding to get their information. Convenience is a very big part of service. And with 2021, with the hint of the happening of the coronavirus and just the whole continuum of society, technology is here. So we have to utilize that and do our best in the spaces we have them. So that's your social media spaces, your Facebook pages, your Google, your Yelp, all of that. You want to make sure to check all your tech spaces. Another great thing that I think you can do before they buy the product is kind of know your audience, right? Is your audience the kind of person that wants to see more videos, pictures, testimonials? What makes your audience click? What makes your audience buy? When they came into the store, to the restaurant, or where have you, what did they tell you caught their attention, right? All of this is service. You may think it's marketing. You may think it's advertising. It is service, right? Bonding a customer to the product before, after, during, it's all part of service. So let's look a little bit at after they buy your product. What does that support look like when they've walked out of your establishment with the product? Things like, is your return refund policy hard to find, hard to interpret? Is it easy? Is it clear? Is it fair? Can a customer come back to you if they're having issues and ask questions about the product? Do you offer demonstrations on how to use your product via Zoom? Is there a Facebook group where other people have used your product and can have testimonials on how maybe to use it best? That sort of thing. So after the person buys your product or service, what is the support afterwards? What do you offer them afterwards? Here's another question to ask yourself regarding, are you ready to support your customer after buying your product or using your service? Are you asking for and prepared to respond to feedback? Part of doing things well is knowing what's not going well right now, or what is going well and what needs to be continued. But in order for you to do so, you need to solicit feedback from your customers and guests. Now, if something has gone wrong, 10 to 1, you don't have to ask them anything. They will volunteer their opinion as to what may have happened and the steps you can take to remedy it, right? But there are some people that will simply leave the establishment and take their complaint to Facebook, where they have 5,000 friends and not 2 people inside of an establishment, right? So you want to head off those things. Let me tell you the benefits of feedback. Why would you ask for feedback, right? One obvious reason. You want to find out firsthand if the customer was satisfied. If you ask for feedback right then and there, is everything to your liking, that sort of thing, you can find out firsthand if the customer is satisfied. Something else you do, which people may find this surprising, not everyone wants to be part of a confrontation. Not every guest wants to be the one to come back and say, hey, this was undercooked, this is not what I ordered. We have our own apprehensions, if you will, about having those conversations. But if the business owner or the representative, staff member, the employee asks for the feedback, then you've opened up that space for your customer to speak freely about how they may feel about the product or service. So not everyone is going to give you that information, but if you ask for it, it absolutely shows respect to your customer's spend and their opinion. especially if they can see the implementation next round. So please, business owners, do not forget the value of feedback on if you're doing well, if you're not doing well, what you're doing right, you want to continue. What's not going right, of course, you'd want to adjust. So you want to make sure you ask for feedback. All righty, next slide, please. So that takes care of the support you offer your customer both before and after they purchase a product or service from you. Now let's move on to that easy and enjoyable experience, right? So remember when Oprah gave away the car? That was easy and quite enjoyable. You just sat there and waited for her to point in your direction and you got a car, right? Delight, smiles, surprise, everything. When you think about the word enjoy, it should bring about the word delight, right? I used to work for TD Bank, America's most convenient bank, great bank. And part of their culture was to surprise and delight customers. And they actually use the word delight. So when you're actually thinking of the experience you're creating for your customer, does it bring about a smile? Is it truly a delightful experience to do business with you? And all of us are customers. We've gone places and said, my, that was nice. I really had a great time there. That was really an enjoyable experience. That is the same sentiment that you are intentionally trying to create for your customers. So think about when you're out and those little things that make your experience just that much better. How are you intentionally working that into your own service plan when looking to reopen your business? Okay. So when we come to easy and enjoyable, you want to make things easy for the customer. We already talked about the support before and doing things like getting your technology right. But what else could you do to make being a customer of yours easier? First off the bat, utilize the feedback, right? But on top of that, utilize feedback from your staff. Don't underestimate that front line to give you real insight, live, real-time insight on if what you're doing is working. They can let you know if people are liking the new menu item. They can let you know if people like the new shade of paint that you put in the lobby. They can tell you if people are using the QR code to scan the menu. Do not underestimate your staff. I would have a closing meeting if I could, if you're having a brick and mortar, and ask for that feedback right then and there. What went well? We put the promotion out this morning to sell, more Diet Pepsi. How many did we sell? How did the customers react when you suggested it? Did we get any feedback? Utilize your staff. You want to utilize your staff for several reasons. One, they're the front line, right? They get all the information, you can get it right then and there. Second, if you make people feel involved in the success of the business, they stay. We all know right now there's a retention issue, there's an employment issue because we have a lot of competition for dollars and time. And people are making different choices about what they're going to do and where they're going to spend their time when it comes to work. I promise you, folks go to work for a company, but they leave a company because of people. If you involve your staff in the success of the business and they see that what they do is not in vain and it is valued more than their paycheck, they will stay with you. You will create loyalty amongst your staff. So not only ask for feedback from your guests, but ask for feedback from your staff. It'll absolutely help you do right by your guests because you'll get that real-time feedback. Other things you can consider: changing the signage around your business. Is it easy to see the name of your business? Is it easy to see it at night? Are there shrubberies around it? Are there parking obstructions around it? The signage around your business, any signage you want people to see, your refund information, your coronavirus rules. Is the signage around your business visible? Is it clear? That sort of thing. Is a follow-up phone call after a customer books a service online? Do you add these small touches to follow up? Hey, we saw you did this. We want to confirm this is what you need. Just like that. Communication, right? Is it adding to your menu of product or services, right? Have you been doing and serving the same thing for a long time? Do you need to expand your products? Have your customers been asking for certain things? Is it time to deliver now? So again, remember, service begins as soon as your customer knows you sell something. It begins right there, from the conversation, the product, the packaging, the approach, the layout, the website, everything is service to the customer. And then you want to provide full communication. So full communication. So we communicate to our guests, we communicate around the staff and so forth. But when I say full communication, what I'm thinking about is communicating in a way that helps everybody involved, right? So I'm going to give you one nugget to use with your staff and customers: communication. Communicate to your staff first what is happening. So let's say there's an issue. Let's say we're in a restaurant and we're out of shrimp. Oh, Lord, right? It's going to be a revolt. We're out of shrimp. More than likely, the manager of the restaurant or the chef will just say, tell the customers we're out of shrimp. That sounds like good customer service, right? Let the customers know we're out of shrimp. Tell the customers we're out of shrimp. But have they prepared that cashier to really tell the customers we're out of shrimp? So the cashier goes up, customer orders shrimp, the cashier says, we're out of shrimp. That's it. Doesn't offer something else, doesn't give another alternative, doesn't apologize for being out of shrimp, doesn't tell you when the shrimp is coming back. It's just we're out of shrimp. So when I say full communication, teach your people what service sounds like to you. Tell them the words to say. Give them a script so you know your service does not falter person by person. This is the standard. This is what we say when we don't have a product. This is what we say when we can't seat you. This is what we say when we have to delay a project. You have the standard. No one veers from the standard, ergo, you know what the conversation sounds like each and every time, whether you've been present or not, because your staff follows a standard of that great service. You have to communicate with them. If you're out of something, if something's going to be late, if something is going to delay, I promise you, every profession, the number one thing is communication. Your high-powered lawyers, your high-powered doctors. I call my lawyer, I don't get a call back for 3 days. It's the same thing for every profession. How do you tell me what is going on? How do you communicate with me? So when we say full communication, arm your staff. So something simple like tell the customers we're out of shrimp. That's not full communication. Tell them what to say, how to say it, what to say if the customer gets upset, what to say if the customer provides them a challenge. Two different things, right? Upset is, why the heck y'all don't have any shrimp? Provides a challenge is, what are you going to do for me because you don't have any shrimp, right? Two different things. Point is, full communication. Arm your staff with all the words that they need to make the service standard impeccable. All right, full communication. Okay, next slide. So we're talking about part of your brand promise, right? We all know reputation is everything. I'm sure when we open our business, we have our tagline, like I opened the training house, and it says, we help business do business better. That is what I promise. That is what we do. So if I were to go work for your business as a consultant and your business doesn't come out doing better, then I have failed. I have failed at my brand promise. What this graphic shows you is the more you put into the customer experience, the higher your brand promise is valued. The customer experience will define if you have met your brand promise or not. That is your reputation. That's the Yelp review. That's the Twitter comment. What did you do with the customer experience that made a great brand promise? Did you live up to what you said you were going to do? Your flyer said, come in, we have the biggest shrimp in South Florida. Did you, right? Did you fulfill the promise, right? So the more you put into the customer experience, the more your brand promise and reputation will go up positively. All righty, next slide. We're almost out of here, guys. Q&A coming up in a second. Okay, so this is not a mistake. I did not throw Beyonce in here by mistake, right? This slide says create fans. So I'm going to tell you guys like a 20-second thing about me and my insane obsession with Beyonce, okay? I love this woman. She has the greatest work ethic in America. She is by far the greatest living entertainer in the world. She is a mother. She's a business mogul. She's a wife. I heard she has a great personality. Her concerts are amazing. If you think Michael Jackson is dead, he is not. He is alive and breathing in the soul of Beyonce, Giselle Knowles Carter. You will not waste $1 if you go to a Beyonce concert. She is living, breathing talent. Okay. That was not a commercial for Beyonce, right? But it sounded like it, right? So I'm going to ask you to consider a couple of things. Just from that brief 15 seconds of me speaking of Beyonce, Giselle Knowles Carter, Black is King, Coachella Queen, just for those 15 seconds of me speaking of that woman, do you think you could dissuade me from being a fan of Beyonce? Do you think you could have a conversation that's negative about Beyonce and I probably won't jump in and throw a little defense in there? If you had a question about Beyonce, I think after those 10 seconds, you probably think you can ask me and I may know the answer. Yes, she was born 9481. Okay, so you can. The reason why I bring that up, guys, is because I am a fan of Beyonce, not a customer. I buy her records, I go to her concerts, I buy her clothes. I can't get Ivy Park to save my life, but I buy, right? I am a customer, but I am a fan of Beyonce, and that is what you need to do. You need to create fans, not customers. Let's talk Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A does not even advertise their chicken in their commercials anymore. They advertise the fact that they will change your tire for you. Capitalizing on service. When you hear people talk about Chick-fil-A, they say two things. Oh, I'm a big fan, or I love Chick-fil-A. They don't say, I'm a customer of Chick-fil-A. I patronize them. They say I'm a fan, or I love it, or I hate it and I'll never go back, right? Customers connect their feeling to a product or service emotionally. Emotionally. Your service that you provide connects and creates that emotion. You need to create fans. Why? Fans will defend you in spaces you are not in. Oh no, that chicken is shucking and jiving is real good. I don't know what you're talking about. Fans will promote you. Oh, you've got to use so-and-so pool service over there. They're amazing. Fans will forgive you. They didn't have shrimp last Friday. That's fine. I love their service. I'll be back. No problem. You want to create fans. And let me tell you how Beyonce creates fans. She doesn't waste our time or money. You do not feel when you have paid whatever that dollar amount is that you have gotten undervalued. She's never late for a concert. She is gracious to her fans. She says, thank you. Small things like that. Even she provides high-level customer service. If you are in the business of doing business better, you absolutely have to be intentional about turning your customers into fans. Now, that is it for my presentation. Are you ready to open up your business, brick, mortar, or virtual? So let's remind you really quick about customer service. Customer service is the support you offer your customers. Be there, both before and after they buy and use your products or services. That helps them have an easy and enjoyable experience with you. Customer support is more than just providing answers. It's an important part of the promise your brand makes to its customers. Let me leave you something very simple. You asked your customers to come here. You asked the customers to support. You asked the customers to come eat. You asked the customers to come buy. Make it worth their while. Service helps you do that. Create a fan and you'll be just fine. Let's get to the questions. What do we have? How can I help?
Let's see. I don't see any from the attendees just yet, but
Okay.
I will ask you though. Let me back up for a second. I think maybe I had misstated up front the topic a little bit because when I was talking about virtual versus bricks and mortar, I think I was referencing whether people should, if they're going to reopen, stay with a bricks and mortar model or go virtual with what they're doing. I misunderstood it. This was really focusing on how you sell your business, as you were talking about, virtually versus bricks and mortar.
Yeah, regardless of the medium you choose.
Yeah, yeah. But it does make me wonder though, how does it vary with a hybrid situation for business? Let's suppose you have a bricks and mortar location, but because of the circumstances, you're being forced to do a lot more virtually, at least the
Mhm.
last year or so. What's sort of the difference and how does it vary? I mean, should they switch to some other type of customer service because they're finding themselves doing it more online now? As a social media, I would imagine, would become more important than
So
maybe,
that's
just
a great question, Richard. I think a lot of brick and mortars know that they've had to go to some kind of online model, whether you're doing delivery now, whether you're doing pickup and that sort of thing. You've had to kind of incorporate that hybrid, if you will. The most important thing you need to consider when going hybrid or incorporating a hybrid piece is process and flow. And how does the hybrid piece affect what's happening in the brick and mortar? So for instance, when Pollo Tropical decided they wanted to do DoorDash, right? They never did DoorDash before, but of course the coronavirus makes that a little bit more prevalent for them. How does DoorDash's system speak to the POS, their cashier system, and put out the orders for their line people to read them and assemble them? Process and flow, right? If it's something that they're not used to reading because DoorDash has a different coding for black beans and rice than the POS we're using, that means that the verbiage my line person is looking at when they take an order inside is different than the verbiage I'm looking at from DoorDash, slows down the process. Have your people test the process. How does the flow, how does that connection make business better? What are those touch points? And then what are those differences? That's the biggest thing I would think though. When you go to integrate technology, what is that process? Walk that through, talk that through before you actually connect wires. Does it work? Does it do what it's actually supposed to do? And don't let other businesses sell you on stuff. And then when you go to make sure it's done, it's not. And then you're tied up in the contract and so forth. So definitely you want to read your contracts when you're working with vendors that are supposed to be adding on to your business. What's your recourse if it's not good after, right? What's that support they provide before and after you buy the product? So process and flow, when you're looking at going hybrid, how does that technology you're adding complement the process you already have going with your brick and mortar?
Gotcha. Okay, I know that our experience on staff here in the last year of assisting small businesses is that we discovered that quite a few of them had no online presence at all.
Mhm.
Now, what I mean by that is they had no Google presence. They didn't have anything. You couldn't find them, basically. So while that's not exactly customer service, it is in the
Right.
sense that in today's world, even prior to the current COVID situation, that replaced the yellow pages. I'm dating
Right.
myself. I grew up with it and I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not going to say it, but clearly that is old school. And we were surprised, and I continue to be surprised that a number of small businesses just don't have that presence. So they can't even go and take orders online, for example, and go into that virtual realm because they're not even got the most basic thing.
Well, it kind of depends on what they're trying to do. So the social media space, the Google space would be SEO marketing. A lot of small businesses do not have the capital to really invest in SEO marketing, somebody to really look at the algorithms, buy ads in certain spaces to make you pop up more and so forth. So small businesses usually have thrived over word of mouth. And service is truly an effect of word of mouth. But to answer your question, if small businesses wanted to be more recognized in those spaces, one, Yelp and Google both have customer service small business departments that work particularly with your budget and what you're trying to do to help you be more visible. For instance, I know for a fact Google is doing something for Black-owned businesses that if, for instance, if I'm in Coconut Creek and there's a Black-owned restaurant here, it will pop up for me more so than it'll pop up for somebody who's searching Black-owned restaurants in New York. They can make that deal with you, if you will. So if you're looking for more presence in the online space, couple of things. Invest in SEO marketing if you can. 2, catch a college intern before they become expensive. That's real. 3, ask for feedback. Make people go online and give you a review. If you can have a QR code that they scan real quick and a Microsoft Forms pops up, and they just put it in and it goes to your page, you're generating your own traffic. Algorithms speak to what's happening. So if you can't get the world to put you up there because Google has, Outback above your steakhouse, makes sense, then you've got to do what you can to challenge Outback in your space. So you can get your customers to be like, hashtag Outback Palm Avenue, right? Because it's your business, and then you get the technology that way. So if you can't do the SEO marketing, do regular person-to-person marketing, but make it easy for them. Have a QR code they can just scan, put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It goes to your Facebook page, ratings, done. You can create your own traffic.
The graphic you showed early on in your presentation, I think it said 6 to 7 times. I'm not going to remember.
Yes, more expensive.
More expensive
to recruit a new customer than to retain one and have them come back.
Is that regardless of the mode of the feedback, whether it was a personal experience in a bricks and mortar situation where you actually entered into the physical space and had a more experience versus the virtual space where somebody posts a negative quote or a negative impression on a social media site, whether it's factual or not? Is it equal weight? I'm glad you
asked that question. So when you're saying 6 to 7 times more likely to, more expensive to create a new customer, from the brick and mortar space, they're speaking of the marketing, of having to reach a new customer. So whatever you're doing now, that extra marketing to go further out, buy more commercial space, use more talent, whatever it is to get a new customer. For the virtual space, what causes customers the most not to come back is the lack of communication. Communication and shipping issues are what causes a customer to leave a virtual space more so than a brick and mortar. Also, not having a virtual option will cause a customer to retaliate against the brick and mortar space. Meaning I can't go on footlocker.com and go in the store or pick it up. That will cause them to leave Foot Locker altogether if they don't have the availability.
Should a business owner who is paying attention to social media and what's being said about their business, should they engage in a back and forth with customers' comments, good and or bad? What's your feeling on that?
So I promise you will not get more customers by arguing with one. It's absolutely never a good look. Even if, let's say, you end up triumphant, the customer was wrong, you prove that you were a great business person, the exchange itself kills you. It's very simple. The exchange itself, outside of, I am so sorry, Mr. Hughes, that you had that experience. Please feel free to call my manager at his personal cell number. Outside of just simply addressing, extra conversation, it just gives people too much room to make an opinion of how you solve the situation. You need to remove the customer away from the public space. Just like if they were in your face, you wouldn't have a conversation in front of 7 customers. You take them off to the side. And you need to remedy that off of the social media space. But what you also need to do strategically is you need to convince or try to get the customer to go back on social media and speak of the remedy. But the exchange, I promise you, the exchange never wins. Even if you win, you don't win as a business. That is not the space to do it. People always come back and say, I would never use them because they argued with their customer back and forth on Facebook. That was rude, that was this, that was that, and the other. Sam Walton does not come out of his Walmart office, to throw tomatoes at people who are upset. At some point you have to be above board. So outside of simply addressing the fact that it's there, absolutely do that. I wouldn't exchange beyond 1 or 2. I just wouldn't. It's not going to end up looking good for you at all. Okay, so I guess the message then would be to monitor that kind of thing, but don't get bogged down in the back and forth. If you do end up solving it to the delight of your customer, see if they'll go back. Okay. Let them be the ones on Facebook, because remember, there's no class on how to be a customer. There's no expectation really of how a customer should act. If they're wrong, they can yell or they can, go to the Better Business Bureau. But there is a standard on how businesses should act. So we always have to act within the standard. And it's not a standard for businesses to yell and scream at their customers, whether in person, online, or what have you. The feedback part of it for a business, do you recommend any specific strategy of getting customer service feedback? Is it best to do it over social media? Do you want to do some sort of surveying? What have you found that's been effective? What I found to be effective is simply just asking. If they're in the brick and mortar, you simply, at the end of the transactions, was everything to your satisfaction? Is there anything you we could change. Or you ask them questions like that are not normal, right? So a business owner normally doesn't ask, if there was one thing you could change about your experience today, what would it be? Whoa, right? So that catches their attention and it really makes them think about, did they have a good time, right? Ask them things like, did you have a good time while you were here? You want to remember now, service is an emotional connection. I love Chick-fil-A versus I'm a customer of Chick-fil-A. I love Chick-fil-A. Something happened emotionally while you were here. Whether you bonded with my cashier because you guys came from the same town, whether you found the perfect shirt, you told me all about your birthday, whether I made sure that you got your refund back on your debit card right then and there, whatever it may be, that emotional connection is what's going to create that fan.
Let me ask you also, because I may not have this clear. What's the difference or the connection between marketing and customer service? Marketing is not customer service, or it is, or it's part of it, or
so marketing is a bit of customer service because being able to give the customer information, right? Marketing is pretty much a really great way to tell you information, right? We've got a new burger. It's awesome, but it's really, we've got a new burger, right? That's what marketing is. Marketing is to get traffic. That's it. We're in charge of what happens when the traffic gets here. So that's what marketing is. Marketing generates interest, and then the people execute the service that keeps the interest. You don't keep coming back for commercials. You came back, you went because of the commercial. You came back because of the service. So marketing simply is a traffic generation tool. That is it.
So the message is, don't rely on your marketing to stand in place of some sort of customer service activity.
A great flyer doesn't beat a hello.
Yeah,
we gotta keep things simple, right? Just keep it simple.
Yeah,
we're all customers.
I do look here on my other screen here, and I say anonymous says yes, 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 Beyonce with 2 exclamation marks. Another anonymous said, I like the Beyonce idea with another exclamation mark. So you're not the only Beyonce fan.
But the idea is to creating of fans, right? Because when you think about it, no one says I'm a customer of Chick-fil-A. You've never heard that. You've heard I'm a fan of Chick-fil-A or I love it, right? I've never said I am a customer of Beyonce. I love her or I'm a great big fan. And once you have that emotional connection, now I'm bound to you, right? Once I say so-and-so has the best island food in Miramar, I'm stuck with it. Now I got to defend you. If my mother went there and didn't have a good experience, I'm coming to tell you because I'm your fan. And when I feel for you, I defend you. So absolutely, you want to create fans.
No, if you've gotten good at customer service, you know that you've got your consistent customers, everything's going well. Mm-hmm. You have a bad experience, you have an experience that goes negative on you. Somebody gets it out there, as I said, social media or in the brick and mortar realm, something goes wrong. It just goes wrong and it's a setback. What's like the number one thing you can do? Is maybe you mentioned it earlier, just make sure you reach out to the person or people that had the bad experience and try to turn that around quickly, or just quietly get past it. Or
there's a 4-step process to what you can do, but that's why you hired the training house. So I'll tell you what, I'll give you a trip. You pick 1, 2, 3, or 4, and I'll tell you one of them. Tell me.
I'm gonna pick 2.
2 would be empathize. How would you feel if this was you? How would you respond if this was your mother? How would you respond if this was your meal? How would you respond if this was your wedding? How would you respond if this was your soda? Empathize. People are not out to get you, right? So when someone comes to you and says, hey, I ordered a 3-piece dark and I got 2-piece white, empathize. I'm sorry that happened. Let me make that right for you right now. Feel what other people are feeling and remedy the situation, because we are all customers. We forget for 8 hours a day, we're something else. But for the other 18, we are consumers, we are customers, we are humans, we are people, we are buying and getting and asking and looking and researching things. Empathize. Empathize with your guests. What are they going through? And also, sometimes people just having a bad day. Just a little bit of grace. Just a little bit of grace, can take you a long way. I have definitely gone from 100 to 0. with someone offering just a bit of grace. And at the end, I'm like, I'm so sorry, love. I had a meeting from hell this morning. It's, a little bit of grace and a lot of empathy can go a long way, especially in 2021. Because you really never know what people are carrying around these days, honestly.
Is there any kind of validity to the attitude, though? You can't please everybody, so you just sort of...
Absolutely. Listen, the customer is not always right. You can tell them Felicia Martin said it. The customer is not always right, but they are always worth it. There's your difference. When you're engaging with the customer, it's not about right or wrong. It's about solving the situation to the satisfaction that they will return. And as I tell all customer service classes, I give them all the standards, do this, do that, be really nice, bend over backwards, yada, yada. However, we are all human beings and there's no amount of money someone can pay you to be disrespected. So one of the other tools that I teach during customer service is when to walk away. When to walk away, when to transfer that to someone else, or when to politely refuse service. You have the right as a business to refuse service. Just because you would like someone to give you money does not mean you are there to be abused, accosted, disrespected. You're not selling your soul, you're selling shoes. You're not selling your soul, you're selling chicken, right? That's not what you're here for. So I absolutely teach business owners how to recognize that line, right? That line of, I've done all I can. This connect is the best option for both of us. Because one thing we have to remember is, as a business owner, you have several customers, not just the one standing in front of you. You've got your brand promise. So you got your name as a customer of yours, and you've got your employees. If the manager's out there screaming and yelling at people, if the owner's out there screaming and yelling at people, you're going to give that attitude to your cashiers. Or if your cashiers and your staff are following the rules and you're coming and making exceptions, right, or making them look at what they're doing, that causes discord. All right. So you definitely have to balance I'm doing everything I can to, I think we're done here. There's got to be a balance to that because no one's here to be abused.
Do you see
and that's when I teach that fine balance of when you just need to stop sometimes. Yes, sir.
Are you seeing any changes between generations?
Yeah.
I read about the work world and the different generations and their attitudes towards work in general. Does it affect what we're talking about here in terms of customer service? Is the older generation look at it one way and younger people look at it differently? Do you find that at all?
So
not picking on anybody, but
Of course. What we have found in the studies of generations is that Generation X and the boomers, which is right above Generation X, have a very high expectation of customer service. Let's say have a very high expectation of niceties, formalities. We have standards. We want to be told hello. This is how this. Millennials and younger are like, is the product here? Because not so much that they have let go of niceties, they have realized that niceties don't mean you're going to have it's not everything. So this person's been smiling at me, but this product sucks. Or yeah, they were really nice, but when I bought the car, it died 10 blocks down. So they're like, hey, so they're more like, yeah, okay, great, but I also need to make sure this works. So they don't put as much value on hi, sir, hello, as we do. We'll be like, oh my gosh, that salesman was so nice. I bought 2 more shoes. We put a lot of value on how we're addressed, how we're approached, how we're helped, all of that. Remember, 78% of Generation X men believe that they are special. So they walk in the room with a certain level of expectation. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So no, that's good, because I was just going to add, your training is going to have to change as the generations progress into the next.
Actually, not.
Series, right? I mean,
the content doesn't change, the way I deliver it does, because the importance of service. Okay. Right. So the importance of service doesn't change because you're 20, right? So if you're 20, what I tell you is, I let you know, if you're speaking to someone of this generation, it wouldn't hurt you to start this way. It wouldn't hurt you to start this way. What folks of my generation value in folks of your generation is your intelligence. So your service is going to be how you explain to this person how to use their phone. That's where your service comes in. Maybe you're not the one that's plugged into an outlet, right? But you're the most thorough and the most patient person when it comes to setting up someone's phone. service can come in many different ways, but you've got to have some intention about it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always have to be a song and dance, happy smile. It just needs to be enjoyable. And enjoyable looks different to people.
Yeah. I just was directed to wrap up, but this
Okay.
was good. I'm glad we ended on this subject because it's, you know, we're living through it, and there's nothing like direct feedback from the young folks out there. And you know, they don't mince words. That's for sure.
That's one way to look at it, right, Richard?
Yeah, it's I like it actually. It's refreshing. It's refreshing to a point, but I had 2 cents on that. But thank you, Felicia. This was great. Appreciate all the information and your help with this. And take care, and we will see you later. And
Thank you,
we'll move on to
guys.
the next segment.
Thank you, everyone, for attending. Go Beyonce.